Hi everyone, and welcome back to a Modern League with Jeskai Geist or Jeskai Tempo. Unfortunately, the live audio for this was lost as I was recording. I believe I got it fixed by the end of the league. However, rounds 3 and 4, you just see me moving my mouth a lot, but you can't actually hear me. For some reason, the audio input on my webcam went out, so I'll have to switch to my just standard computer mic for the rest of the time. We'll go ahead and revisit this just using the game history feature on Magic Online. This game in particular, I know there were a lot of mistakes in, so this might be a good opportunity for me to go back and see those anyway. We were on the play in game 1. We mulliganed down to 6, I believe, keeping this hand, which seems pretty reasonable, and I believe we scryed a land to the top, a fetch land to the top. So we know we're playing against humans just by the first few turns of the game. Seems like Spell Snare is going to be pretty good here as long as they don't have a Cavern of Souls. We draw our Flooded Strand, making sure not to fetch so that we ensure we're going to hit our land drop. Our opponent immediately plays a Cavern of Souls, so that not negates, but eliminates 2 of the cards in our hands, basically. So this hand just went from decently positioned to pretty awful. Our opponent's also accelerating their mana pretty quickly. We just decided to go ahead and fetch and shock, and also fetch up a basic so that we can take out the Thalia right away. Our opponent plays a second Field or Cavern of Souls. We played a Field of Ruin on our turn, and a third Noble Hierarch. None of these spells are counterable at the moment since they're using the Cavern of Souls. Thalia's Lieutenant pumps them all up, so it seems like they're going to be off to a very aggressive start. Now, at this point, with all these triggers on the stack, I believe we're going to go ahead and cast Blessed Alliance. There's an argument for waiting until we can escalate as well. However, I don't think we want to take what's going to be 4 this turn. So, we're just going to go ahead and Blessed Alliance. You'll see the way we tap our mana, we're purposely leaving up Spell Snare because he tapped down both his Cavern of Souls already. However, whenever the time actually comes, we do make a mistake, and we, for some reason, just don't counter this Phantasmal Image. It enters the battlefield copying Thalia's Lieutenant, and that's pretty much the end of the game right there. So that was a huge mistake. I'm just going to go ahead and let this play out just at its own pace for now. That one misplay just cost us the rest of the game because it goes from 1 Thalia's Lieutenant to 3 Thalia's Lieutenants, and they just absolutely run away with the game, pounding us down before we ever have a chance to come anywhere near stabilizing. So that was just a massive misplay on our part that game. We'll go ahead and go on to game 2. I believe the way we sideboarded was essentially we took out as much of the counter magic as possible. We brought in the Supreme Verdict, the Sphinx's Revelation, and Timely Reinforcements. I want to say we brought in Meddling Mage as well. I guess we'll just have to see what the video contains. Apparently we brought in Rune Halo. We're going to mulligan down. We've only got 1 land in this hand, but we decided to keep. We find a land on top, so that worked out pretty well for us. Our opponent just plays lands of pass. We're going to do the same. Again, this is the reason we board out all of our counter magic, because they play 4 copies of Cavern of Souls. Something interesting about this Fate Sale Freebooter I didn't realize until I got a little bit more into Standard recently was that it doesn't work the way things like the name's escaping me. Spell Queller do. If you kill Spell Queller with the ability still on the stack, the spell goes away forever. If you kill Kitesail Freebooter with the ability on the stack, they just look at your hand. They don't actually take anything. So it's nice that that new templating solves that issue. There's also an argument for that not being bad templating, for that being correct templating that just rewards the more experienced player. So I can see an argument for that for sure. I'm going to go ahead and let this try to play out a little bit quicker. So we're just trying to grind away, just trying to answer as many of their threats and try to get them down on a few cards so that we can land a Geist or a Spell Queller. But it seems that they have boarded into additional interaction with our hand in the form of Sin Collector, which you see there. And they just continue to hit Kitesail Freebooters and the like. Just very interactive and aggressive creatures. We do end up drawing one of our Geists. We boarded down to 2 in the deck, I believe, after post-board, just because it's very hard for Geist to get in this matchup. However, once he does get in, the game's basically over. Like, if we can get the board clear enough for a Geist attack, then we're going to win the game at that point. Just offer the trade there, which they took. Play out our Geist because we had nothing better to do. It's possible that we shouldn't have played out that Geist. You'll see here in a moment I draw a Supreme Verdict. It's possible we should have been thinking about the type of cards we had left in our deck that we could draw to get out of this situation, and Supreme Verdict would definitely be one of the cards on that list. So through that line of thought, perhaps we wouldn't have played out the Geist. Selfless Spirit also is a real beating when we have drawn Supreme Verdict. And because it was brought in off the vial, we had no opportunity to Spell Queller it. However, we do have an opportunity here to flash in the Spell Queller and block, which we do not take apparently. It's possible that that was a mistake as well. We may be waiting to try to Spell Queller some creature and get in for that block. I think probably what we're trying to do is set up for a turn where we get our Valorous stance back, and also this Direfleet, sorry, I'm getting a little off topic, but this Direfleet Daredevil is great in the Humans deck, it seems. I think calling it Snapcaster Mage is an extreme exaggeration, but when you're playing against control, I can definitely see it being nearly as good. So our original plan there was to set up for a turn where we could kill that Kitesail Freebooter, get our Valorous stance back, Valorous stance Geist to give him indestructible, and then blow everything up with Supreme Verdict. However, as you can see, that's not the way things have played out. We're now just getting beat down by a 6/6, whatever that card is called. I don't even know the name of that card because it's only relevant in this deck. Champion of the Parish. There are a lot of subtleties that are actually going on here. Those of you who have played against the Humans decks obviously know that there's the interaction between Kitesail Freebooter and Meddling Mage, where they get to see your hand so they know what to name with Meddling Mage. Our opponents named Supreme Verdict. I'm fairly certain they named that after this Kitesail Freebooter came down, so they're probably playing around the fact that we could draw any number of removal spells to kill this Kitesail Freebooter, or the fact that we could flash in Spell Queller to block. However, they're not even attacking with him, so they're definitely assuming that we are going to draw a removal spell, which I think makes sense from their perspective. Here we're just chumping. And I believe on our end step we're going to go ahead and electrolyze that Kitesail Freebooter. We did. Try to find an answer to this Meddling Mage, which we did in the form of Snapcaster. Excuse me. So I believe what we're going to do now, if I take a quick look at our graveyard, is we are going to Snapcaster, Lightning Helix, this Meddling Mage, and chump the Champion of the Parish. Does appear to be what we're doing. Do we just path it? No. Not sure how that plane's got tapped. I clicked through it a little bit too quickly. Oh, we're electrolyzing so that we get an extra card, which makes sense. Here we're going to Supreme Verdict if I had to guess. And at this point, we've ground out enough card advantage that our opponent's really going to struggle to come back. So this game is pretty much over now. Just a matter of us landing a threat that is resilient enough to finally get in for those 20 points of damage. Spell Queller is apparently not that threat. I believe our opponent's just going to concede when we cast this as its static caster because it's so good against the human deck. They really don't stand a chance when you combine as its static caster with a deck full of removal. So at this point, we're just waiting for the last few turns of this game to wind down, and our opponent finally conceded there because we've overwhelmed them with the card advantage our deck can produce against them. So we're currently 1-1 in this matchup. Previously, I have never lost to humans. However, spoilers, you're about to see the first time ever losing to humans with Jeskai for me. I think it was a result of a number of misplays, subtle things from not using my Field of Runes when I had open mana, and then attempting to use them in turns where my mana was constrained, to pathing the wrong. There was a point where I clicked on the wrong Kitesail Freebooter, if I remember correctly, and I was able to, if I had clicked on the correct one, I would have been able to chain paths together later in the game. You can see the setup of that beginning to happen now. But instead I clicked on the wrong creature and just kind of fizzled out and died. So definitely a number of misplays in this game. It was pretty late, I believe, when we were recording this, so that may have played a factor. But I definitely, if I'm too tired to focus on the game, I should just put the game away, because I'm taking this game very seriously, and I need to have enough self-control and respect for the game to realize that it is a hard game to play, and that if I'm not operating at my optimal functions, I probably shouldn't be playing the game. Another contributing factor is probably the fact that we had to ghost quarter our own land. However, we could not find a white source to save our lives. And then, of course, as soon as we finally took the leap to ghost quarter our own land, we immediately found one. Which always seems to be the way it goes. I believe that was the moment where we pathed the wrong creature. I think what we meant to do is path the Kitesail Freebooter, then path this Direfleet Daredevil off of it. But we just misclicked, and we clicked the wrong creature, and then we just obviously took 4 that was completely unnecessary for us to take. So you make too many mistakes like that, and you're bound to die. Especially when it sets you up to chump block for the next 2 or 3 turns afterwards. And our opponent continues to rip just interactive threats over and over again in the form of these Kitesail Freebooters and Direfleet Daredevils. And once again, these Sin Collectors, and just if every card that he takes not only takes a card out of my hand, but is also a threat that stays around. So if every single card he draws 2-for-1s me, I don't really have much of a chance. But I don't think that this is the usual draw from humans. I even went as far there as This just shows I was a bit tilted and probably a bit tired. I attempted to spell snare that Thalia's lieutenant and just threw that card away out of my hand because it had been cast off of Cavern of Souls. So very clearly making a number of mistakes. I believe after this match, I went and took a few minutes, went and got a drink, sat down for a little bit before I came back to the computer to record round 4. So we will be back with round 4 shortly. Once again, sorry about the audio issues, and I hope this format is acceptable. We'll be returning to the usual live commentary for the following videos. Thank you for watching.